Filled up with tears, and he asked me like the fate got dead. Go off of the bridge, but the truth is we are softies and we truly love our kids. Join us every Tuesday night, wrap it all up, babe. Evening in the parents' lounge is the cure to staying sane.
Boom! Welcome to another edition of the Parents Lounge. I'm Jamie Kaler, joined as always by the star of the show, Kate Mulligan. Oh, and Jason Gowan's here.
Thanks,
hey
buddy.
Guys, how are you tonight? Hey, really quick, thanks to everyone for tagging along and watching our show and listening to us on iTunes. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, write a review. We've been doing this for a while, and it's really cool when we get little responses from people telling us how cathartic this show is, because Jason and I were just talking before the show, Mulligan, and I was like, every week I'm kind of like, oh, I got a show tonight. And then by the end of the show, I'm like, oh, I feel way better. I got that off my chest.
Yeah.
I've been doing okay. Gowan's been doing pretty good, but unfortunately, Kate Mulligan might have had the worst Christmas holiday vacation of all time.
Honestly, there are people that like slept in an airport, so I don't really compete with that. But I don't know, because like yesterday, Jason said he was getting a test done to see why his arms don't move. So I'm pretty sure Jason's still doing the worst.
I mean, mine's more intermittent than it used to be. Like, I occasionally have a day where I have no ailments, and then occasionally my arms don't work. I never know.
To be fair, sometimes it's pretty good if you can't feel your arms, because then you can kind of do your own thing, and it's almost like you're with somebody else. It's kind of, it can be too soon.
I still have eyes, though. So like, I know it's not somebody else. I know it's still me.
Dude, shut your eyes and use your imagination.
Yeah. Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination.
Right now, I'm going to hear that every time.
I called Mulligan yesterday just to check in on her, because you did not do the show last week. No, you weren't here. That's right. I every week's a blur to me, but I know you weren't here.
Last week. So it's 9 o'clock there, and
your son was still projectiling from both ends, and so I called you yesterday to see how you were doing, and you said, "Hey, I'm getting a mammogram. Let me call you right back." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Which is such a weird. Guys are like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mom."
Oh no! Does she have breasts? I hadn't noticed. I certainly don't want to think about them getting squashed.
How'd it go? Everything okay?
I don't know. I mean, the lady was like, "Thanks, honey." I was like, I braced for the worst. And then like everybody, I think maybe hadn't nursed for 2 straight years with a child chewing on them. This was so much better than a 2-year-old with a full mouth of teeth chewing. So yeah, I like, how did it go in terms of like pain level? Like I was at a 2. It was awesome. Yeah, it was nothing.
There's pain in a mammogram?
Nervous. What'd you say?
Mammograms have pain?
Well, yeah. So
school us on the booby scan.
So I've
had X-rays of my body. What?
Yeah, there's a shelf. There's a shelf. Okay, Here we go.
Okay.
and the lady. So
By the way, narcolepsy is already killing it. It's like he got the show in advance and wrote a bunch of jokes.
he's like, here's some guys. I'm just spitballing here. Here's some good jokes you could use. So let's say this is the lady part.
That's the shelf.
This is the shelf.
Oh,
And
okay.
they basically take it and they slam it on a shelf, and you have to put your basically your face is against the machine, and then they take another shelf and they go do 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 do.
Oh, that's
Hold your
called the
breath.
Cleveland bread maker. I know
Yeah.
that. I know that move.
Hold your breath.
I don't know the Cleveland steamer. That feels
No, that's a
narcolepsy knows about
completely
Cleveland
different
steamers.
thing.
Wait,
Totally different
is that
thing.
is that the rusty trombone or is that the cement mixer? I'm so
He's just gonna throw it all out.
It's
This is the guy that's
similar
like,
to
"Please be
the-
clean."
It's similar to the cement mixer, but in this there's a shelf.
Oh my god.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense. I would love to get a manogram. Did you see he goes, give Jamie a manogram? Wow. How has nobody, I've never heard that term before, and that should be, somebody needs to copyright manogram.
Yeah,
Is that a thing?
what would a manogram
Somebody
look
Google manogram and see what comes
Okay.
up.
Oh, not me. Sorry, you're telling someone else.
By the way, everybody out there, we already got a ton of people coming in. Our pal Bill Engvall, who's been kind of in the news lately, he officially retired from stand-up comedy on Friday, unless he's retired from doing virtual shows as well, because he's supposed to come into tonight's show in a few minutes, and we're going to talk about his career and about stand-up and about being a parent and a grandparent, which Bill is. And so, so those of you who are kind of jumping in to see Bill, thank you for coming by, and he will be here in a few minutes.
Or he won't, in which case stick around.
Because honestly, we had a conversation. We talked with him today about like how to set his camera up. So he's as soon as you become a grandparent, apparently you don't know how to work anything technical, I think is how it works.
Yeah.
I did my best there. I was very patient, and I did my best. It sucks because we were on two different platforms. He was on Apple stuff, but he had a Windows PC, and I'm on an Android, so we couldn't get. There was no common ground across the board, and I was trying to talk this through him.
Hold on, Stephanie Hansen has. I retired for stand up too. I'm laying down. Oh, that's her opener.
Gotta come out of retirement with jokes like that, kiddo.
Look at that. She gets engaged and she's slinging the jokes again.
She's got all the jokes.
Hey, also, for the update, still haven't had a drink since January 1st.
Are you on day 10?
Can you see it in my face? Can you see it?
Well, you look just as young as ever. How dare you?
No,
your skin. I gotta tell you,
there's a glossiness to you that you didn't have.
Skin
I know. It does. It's not even.
It really does.
Listen, the lighting's helping, whatever. But
sure.
I have noticed my skin's a little healthy.
It's probably hydration, right? Because alcohol dehydrates
that's
you.
That's true too. So we were talking about it because I'm trying to get back into. I'm trying to purge the pandemic fully from my system. I kind of embraced it, like I think we all did to a degree. I mean, at some point, people go, Jamie, the pandemic ended like 14 years ago. I know, but I'm still. Listen,
no, Jamie's working off the Spanish flu. Don't worry about it, guys. Just be cool.
Dude, I still just do drive-by birthday parties where I just go by birthday parties and they go, Jamie, there's no pandemic. I go, dude, better safe than sorry. And then I throw the present out. Guys.
I got to tell you, nobody loved the pandemic as much as dads loved the pandemic because Dickie hates children's parties. Not having to go to a children's party for a year and a half was as good as it gets for that man.
I have a big bit on my album, but yeah, that was literally one of the best things about the pandemic. It was like no birthday parties, just drive-by stuff.
No play dates. Oh, fantastic.
I was hoping it would reset the bar on them and like people wouldn't put so much into them, but they've gone right back to it.
Oh, bigger than ever. Bigger birthday parties than ever. They're like, well, we got to make up for all the years we missed. I'm like, no.
Yeah. And so here's a unicorn you can ride. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what happened at the birthday party I went to. I was like, that's a unicorn here. And I rode it. And all the other parents were like, really? And I go, dude, I'm riding that unicorn. I don't care. And I rode it around the driveway. It's pretty pathetic, really. I'll show a picture sometime. Listen, let's get into it because this dude I've known for a long time. One of my oldest friends. He's a juggernaut. I don't really need to do a bio. I don't think. blue collar comedy tour. Oh, he had a show called the Bill Engvall Show. I think when you have a TV show,
he played
in Dancing with the Stars.
he didn't play. I believe he actually played Bill in that show.
I think he played Bill
forget how-
Engvall. Yeah, I think
he
so. Let me
did
check
play
his
the
IMDb.
title role. It was a big deal.
Yeah, let me check.
But
Let me check.
he has been blowing up in the news lately because he has officially retired.
Been canceled.
from
Sorry,
stand-up
what?
comedy. Wait, no, that was Gowan got canceled. Jason,
Oh, sorry, okay.
Bill retired.
Get
But I'm sure,
canceled.
for the right, maybe someday he'll be talked out of an occasional gig. But luckily for us, he hasn't retired from virtual shows that he can do from a comfortable chair with a drink in his hand. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome our old pal Bill Engvall.
Hey, everybody, how are you?
Good. How are you, Bill?
Good.
Bill, I love doing the show with you because literally we don't have to talk much.
23.
We set you up and then you go. It's like an hour. It's the best. And
I gotta tell you, that was a very sweet introduction. But it made me realize something, that in this business, and I don't know why it is, but you get caught up in what you haven't done and you tend to overlook what you have accomplished. Just because I think the word success has been so bastardized, literally to me, success for a man or a woman, you put a roof over your family's head, you put food on the table, you're a success. We got this thing, oh, well, you didn't do, you weren't on Yellowstone, or you didn't get this. Like, none of it matters. It's like and I think that's one of the things I've taken away from my retirement from the road. Still hoping for some TV and movies, but we'll see how that goes. But I think we just get so like, oh, you're a stand-up. Like there's something, I've played all over the world, and the last two shows I did in Salt Lake City were sold out. We filmed it. It was a magical night, and it was truly the way to go out,
Yeah.
And so what I would tell young comedians is, dude, success is what you do. It's not based on your IMDb credits. It's you being a human, being a good person, and being a human being. And but that was very, like I said, a very sweet introduction. And I look back fondly on my career. There's nothing I would have changed. I mean, nothing. Even the stuff that wasn't good built something within me, that made me a better performer, or made me whatever it would be. So I think and like doing shows like this, I love this stuff. This reminds me of back in the 80s when I did every stand-up show, stand-up spotlight, evening at the Improv. If it was on, I did it. And my friends would go, "Why are you doing so many of them?" I go, "Because why not? I mean, why would you say, oh, no, I'm not going to do that?"
Yeah.
I just feel like the more you can get your name out there, and listen, I've been so blessed in my career. Good God, my hair is gray. I just delight.
You have hair.
Holy,
The lighting.
Listen, you can color it.
I do have.
Listen,
I
you can
have
color
a little bit.
your hair.
It's still hanging in there. But yeah, so this is fun. I love doing this show. I like this show because it's easy going. You talk about everything, and of course, Jamie and I have been buds for years, and like even that, Jamie and I got to do. I will never forget this. We got to do something that not very many people get to do. I was doing a show in Columbus, Ohio, and Jack Hanna came to the show, and then gave me and Jamie a backstage tour of the Ohio Zoo, Columbus Zoo, where we literally fed manatees. We were 6 inches from a cheetah that could have taken our face off with one swipe. And I know you'll remember this. We saw a gorilla go at a metal door full on, and it scared the shit out of both of us.
I tell that story very often. When people go, "Oh, a gorilla," I go, "Dude, I was backstage And the guy, he goes very specifically. There was a painted line, which was like 6 feet away from the cage. And the dude was like,
he said, stay right
do
here.
not step inside that line. And we were like, what? And before we could even look up, the gorilla had vaulted 25 feet across the thing. His arm went right through the bars at us. And he came like that. I was like, ah! Oh my God. That was one of the scariest things I've ever seen, though.
He hit a metal door so hard, it was like someone hit it with a sledgehammer.
That's so crazy.
And then the best part was we got back on the bus and we took off. It was like, it's like the greatest. And we were laughing because we were walking around with Jack Hanna. And it was so funny because Jamie and I got laughing so hard because, hey, everybody go, hey, there's Jack Hanna. That's Jack Hanna. There's a Jack Hanna. It's like he became a part of the zoo. That's a Jack Hanna. Kids, look at there. That's a Jack Hanna.
He was so famous, and he would just turn around and go, just keep walking, just keep walking. And he'd wave, but he never stopped. Well, just keep walking, just keep walking. And he had that kind of voice where he was like, just keep walking. And we just were like, yeah, whatever, Jack.
Well, if anybody knew about crowd control with wild animals, it was probably Jack Hanna, so he knew what he was doing.
I got Christmas cards. Dude, we got Christmas cards from Jack Hanna that year. I got a Christmas card. It was great. Dude, not just that, but I remember Vegas. We did the Stardust before it got blown up or something. And God, we were in some crazy bar with a bunch of country Western stars. I was like, holy cow, dude. Yeah, it was VIP all the way.
We were at Gillies, and I think it was Toby Keith dropped by and all these people. I walked on stage with a handle of Crown Royal and was literally pouring drinks into people's mouths, singing with band. I mean, it was just like, and then we walked out through the casino, and I think we ran into Rodney Carrington. And Rodney was so
in a different theater. He was there. He was doing a show in a different theater in a different hotel. I
think. And so we're walking through the casino, and we're all pretty much sheets to the wind. And it's also like 3 a.m. And Rodney walks up to a craps table and puts down what he thought was $5 on a don't pass line. He hit it, and they start shoving these chips in. He goes, I bet $5. He goes, no, sir, you bet $500. Oh. And he was like, oh, I got to go home. But like
I was reading your thing in Fox. You had your kind of interview at the end. And I will tell you, you talked about how much it's changed. And I think there was an aura to it back then where there was a respect. And when people came to a show, people dressed up, it was a big night. And the audience knew that's the show. I'm the audience. I'm here to watch it. I'm not part of this. And I feel like that has all changed where now they show up and they go, I'm going to yell, I'm going to throw stuff because that's what we're supposed to do. And it feels different now.
It is different, Jamie. I always say this, that comedy used to be the release valve. People came to shows to laugh and ease their tensions. And now it seems like comedy's become the igniter. It's like people go almost hoping you're going to say something that offends them. And I did an interview with somebody. Yeah. And somebody asked me a question. A great interview he said, where do you see stand-up going in the future? And I said, that's a great question. Because for guys like me, middle of the road, you'd have to really go out on a limb to get offended by something I say. But guys that I really respect too, like Dave Chappelle and Bill Burr and these guys that are very controversial, I said, I can almost, if it keeps on this trend, you can almost see comedy going back underground, like the old jazz clubs, that you had to know a word to get in and
leave your phone at the door. People are not going to be able the recording of the shows, these bootleg shows getting out because people in the audience can't just respect that they're at a live event. No. It's like that's what's also going to have to happen. You're going to have to take away people's cell phones in a theater.
And yet someone will find a way to say, listen, I'm going to tell you a story that it had a good ending. So I have a bit I did about giving my son a pocket knife for his birthday.
I'm offended.
And I was doing the bit, and out of the darkness, a guy walks up to the stage and tosses a pocket knife on stage. Now, it was very, he thought it'd be funny. I guess that was the thought process. But I just remember looking at him going, what were you thinking? And I didn't have him thrown out or nothing. It wasn't like he slung it at me. He just kind of, but I thought that was the cementing point to me when I went, I don't care what comedian, I don't care. And I honestly believe this, and some comedians may disagree with me. I think this day and age, if you're on stage, you're not just a little scared, there's something wrong, because you don't know what's coming out of the darkness. You don't know that someone's not going to sling a beer can at you or so, and I never had that before. And I realized when I would go on stage and I would be thinking, okay, just kind of keep your eyes moving and just look for anything doesn't look, that's not what comedy's supposed to be. Comedy's supposed to be, spreading joy and laughter and having a great time together, and not some kind of thing that somebody wants to get their 5 minutes of fame, Salman Rushdie getting stabbed on stage. It's
Crazy.
Just like, what? I literally find myself, and not to be a downer on this, but I found myself going, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And I'm doing it for the people. I did it for the people that wanted to come to, like, the shows in Salt Lake City were magical. I mean, it was what every comedian dreams to go out on, 2 sold out shows.
Yeah.
You're filming and it's like, thank you, good night. And I just, at least for me personally, there was too much interference starting to show up, in my head. Like I wasn't able to commit completely to the show because I was a little freaked out. You don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
It's funny too, Bill, because I mean, you have grandkids now, and we have all little kids and stuff. And I was thinking about this the other day about, like, when I first moved to Hollywood, the guy who was the loudmouth and was like bragging about everything he did, that was the guy who did the least. The quiet guy in the corner was the established person. And anytime anybody was a blowhard, you would call them out. But all of a sudden, because negativity actually makes more money on Twitter. If you have a positive statement, it gets no response. If you have a negative or an incendiary statement, it gets all this feedback. So people were trained to monetize. I'm a brand. I'm this. It's me. And so they're not just looking for their 15 minutes of fame. Nobody wants to fit in with society anymore. They want to be soloists. And I think it's hard to teach my kids to be modest and go, don't brag, when the kid who does brag the most and opens presents makes $24 million a year. It's really hard.
Yeah.
To go,
listen, I think you've touched on the subject that it's driving me crazy. These what do they call them? Influencers.
Yeah.
So
terrible term. Who are they? I mean, I guess they're influencing people in a negative way, but yeah.
I was doing a show, and the whole thing, the other thing is, you got these, I call them YouTube comics. I mean, I have a YouTube channel, but these guys that do a 3-minute bit and it gets 2 million views, and these buyers across the country think it's the next coming of Steve Martin. And so I was doing a show down in Louisiana at a casino, and I saw this guy's name. I won't say his name because I don't want to. But it was a country show, a comedy thing. And it was. I said, "Oh, who's that guy?" He was coming up, and the guy said, "Oh, it's on YouTube. He got like 2 million views." I was like, "Oh, okay, good for him." I was at that same casino a year later, and the driver picked me up at the airport, and I said, "Hey, how was that show that was here last night?" He goes, "Oh my God." He goes, "The guy showed up with 6 opening acts. He did 20 minutes, and people were pissed." And I said, "It seems like anymore you don't have to earn your chops. It's like I grew up with guys like Leno and Shanley and Seinfeld and Kirkenbauer and all these guys, and I learned from the best. And I started as an opening act. I then went to be a middle act, and then I was the headliner. And I learned along the way. Now it's like these guys, they're like the Flash. One of my favorite David Spade bits was when he did Police. I think it was like Police Academy 17 or whatever it was that did. And David did a show. He said, "Yeah," he goes, "I had to go to my accountant because I was in that Police Academy movie." And he told me what I was going to have to pay. And I said, don't you have like that flash in the pan clause in your country? And the point he was making was, that's what it is. A lot of this is just flash in the pans, and that's where I thank God for my fan base. They stuck with me, through all the years of 42 years of doing it. And the one quick note is to say that, some people say, why'd you, I'm at the top of my game. They say, why are you retiring now? And I go, that's the time I want to go out. Yeah. I don't want to be that actor you go see and somebody goes, you should have stopped last year.
Well,
but
it's not about that.
I don't know. I think you're right.
Do you want to do the road?
The road, I'm telling you, the road takes it out. I tell you, one of my favorite road stories. I was generally what we would do. It was like I would fly Friday to, let's say I was in Ohio, and Jamie knows I would do the show, and then we'd get on the plane, and we'd fly to the next city so that we could fly home the next night. So I was up by myself, and I think it was somewhere up in Maine or something way up there. And we landed like at 3:00 in the morning. The car service picked me up, and they drive me to the motel. And it literally was a motel. Every door open to the parking lot. And it's like, by the time we get there, it's like 45 minutes from the airport. So now it's like 3:45. The driver lets me out and takes off. And I'm looking at the office and there's nobody there. So I finally see this sign. It says, ring this bell. So I ring the bell, and like 5 minutes later, this guy comes out in his pajamas, and he said, what? And I said, I'm checking in, Engvall. And he goes to his computer, and he goes, I don't have your reservation. I go, yeah, dude, you do. I go, here's the confirmation number. And he goes, oh, you're checking in tomorrow. I go, that's today. He goes, well, I don't have any rooms. I go, you're telling me you don't have one room? He said, I got one, but you're going to have to recheck in at 7 a.m. I go, by this time it's 4 in the morning. I go, whatever, dude, just give me a bed. And he gives me the key, and I walk up to this room, and I swear to God, my first thought, I opened the door and went, someone's been murdered in this room. It was a king size bed with one pillow. The closet was just an indentation in the wall with a rod across it. And I just remember laying there thinking, this is where you're going to die. And it's going to be some kind of drug related story. And it was, so at 7:00 in the morning, my phone rings one time. And I went, oh God, I walked in, and the girl goes, no, we had you last night. He just messed up. I'm like, here's 5 more years off my life.
That stuff gets old.
I honestly swear to God, I don't really know how female comedians do it on the road. It's bad.
We had Tammy Telly on here, Bill. Yeah. We had Tammy. We've had a bunch. And every time, Kira Saltanovich has done it a bunch. And she's like, yeah, dude, you wouldn't believe it. Like, just to get back to her hotel room after the show, the audience sees her leaving and stuff. Super scary. It's super scary, especially now. It had to be scary then, but nowadays you're like, sketchy. Everything is sketchy.
Well, and you know how it is. Once the show's over, the theater can give a shit,
Yeah.
They got
you're sneaking out the bag, dude.
Yeah.
He's flying out the back door.
It's that one, and my other favorite road story from years ago. I was working the Comedy Spot in Birmingham, Alabama. Great club. And I get there about 4:00 in the afternoon. It shows at 8. So I get in the room and I go up, I'm taking a shower, and there's this banging on the door. And I'm like, what the hell? And I open the door, and there's this Indian guy. He goes, don't take a shower. And I said, what? He goes, don't take a shower. The water drains into the kitchen. What the? Oh, wait, it gets better. So we do the show. I'm lying in bed. The lights are off. And I feel something crawl across my lips.
No. Vito.
I turn on the light, and there's a roach on the pillow next to me. And so I get rid of the roach. I go back to bed. I went to the bathroom and literally use toothpaste on my lips. And I get back in bed and I'm just about to fall asleep, and this gigantic rainstorm starts. And I'm laying there in the dark and I hear this flap, flap.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, what the hell? And I turn like the ceiling, the acoustic ceiling tiles were soaking with water and falling out of the ceiling onto the floor and the bed. And I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
Nobody sees this side of the road. You know, you got a great job. That's nice. You're like, yeah, let me tell you about nice. But then there's
I smell a book, Bill.
Yeah, I should do that.
Might be time for a book.
Yeah.
My favorite road stories.
Yes.
Yeah. Huh?
Oh, I was gonna say, which consequently will become my favorite nightmares. Your favorite road stories are my favorite nightmares now.
Oh, I had one in Kellogg, Michigan, and the only reason I remember it because it was the year that baby Jessica got stuck in the well.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. So
80s.
I go to another motel, and the guy said, "I'll walk you to your room." I'm like, okay. And he opens the door to the room, and there's a dude laying on the bed in his underwear going, "What the hell?" And I'm like, okay, wait a minute.
Okay.
And that was Larry the Cable
When you get to the club, they go, when you get to the club, the club goes, "How's the hotel?" You're like, "Fine, it's good, it's fine." Do they even do comedy condos anymore?
Yes.
I
do
don't
they?
know. I'm sure they do.
Comedy
because
Store
they
La Jolla
own
still
the
does, I know.
La Jolla does, yeah.
I stayed in condos that you would get in the shower and there'd be hair on the soap bar.
Well, it's funny because your mom's comedy show has been commenting. They're doing our show next week.
Yes.
We can't wait to have you guys on, by the way. We're super excited to catch up. But they're hitting the road. They're on the road again right now, touring your mom's comedy show.
But at least God bless anybody.
Like that was the hardest part, was like going, like it was always great to go with you, to open for you. But when you headline, you're like, it's the money's better, but you're also like, you're on your own.
You know what, Jamie? That's a great point. I tell you what, that's one of the things I miss from the club circuit was there used to be a paper called Just for Laughs, and you would open up the center and it would listed every comedy club and it listed who was playing. So you could go, oh, look, I'm playing with Jason and Jamie, and that'll be great. Oh, next week I'm with Kate. So you knew who was coming. And, it was part of the camaraderie because it really was a us versus them attitude, and so if you had comedy buds with you, it made it so much easier. Listen, I don't regret any, but being on the road, when I would have Jamie on the road, it was like you look forward to having someone just to, hey, you want to get a cup of coffee, or it's like when you're by yourself, man, it is a lonely existence. I mean, just like,
and it's like
you don't know anybody in town.
Sunday, yeah, it can be real painful.
It's like, and you're like, why don't you go walk around and see stuff? Really, by myself? Okay, yeah. Now I'm that real loser.
Now that you're home, you can spend more time with your grandkids.
Okay, I have a question, Jamie. Did you have a sound booth built into your house?
Thank you for asking it, Bill. I'm trying. Honestly, I'm like, somebody's got to mention it. Somebody has to mention that I'm wearing a gender reveal sweater.
And your wife said that's good. Yeah.
Jamie's an Al Qaeda video. I mean, I just am not. It's not.
What was it before you built the egg crate closet? Yeah, you can dance all you want. You're in an egg crate.
You're not getting out of these questions.
It was a closet, and so I've been doing a bunch of voiceover stuff. And so my voiceover agent was like, you need to kind of put a little booth in there. And I was like, all right. So I went today and I got it looks great there, doesn't it? I like it a lot.
And you know what? And you can also discipline your kids by going, once you get in there, nobody can hear you scream.
It's the screaming booth.
Also,
it's the cone of silence. I did, Bill. We'll talk about it because I put one in. Because I've been doing a bunch of voiceovers, and I was like, "Yeah, fine." So I actually built it.
Hey, you know what?
I taped all this
God
up.
Bless you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
it's got a
does.
little nice bedroom vibe. I know.
It's got a max headroom vibe. It does kind of have that.
I feel
what's
like
funny,
it
Bill?
looks like you're shooting an Al Qaeda video. I'll be honest. It really does feel like you've been taken hostage and you're sent.
Says the woman sitting at the foot of her bed.
Yeah, right. I'm
just
gonna
a
blame.
lady
I'm
in
gonna blame
waiting.
SOS. So I
By
brought
the way,
built
Jason,
it.
I never did get the camera working. The camera works, but the video was more just like how to take pictures.
Oh, I have another one to kind of get that like shows you exactly what buttons to click. We can work on it tomorrow or whatever.
I got, you know what?
No, we're all flying in. We're coming to Park City for the weekend, and we're going to come out and fix it up for you.
Well, you know what? Well, I'm in Arizona right now, so I wish I could show you guys this. I don't know if it'll. So I got to brag. Oh, so let me tell you. So, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but like, this is a comedy. This is where comedy saves my sanity. So Gail's dog was 12 years old with congestive heart failure. So we're flying to Denver the week of Christmas. And we take the dogs with us. So we charter a plane. And that morning I said, she doesn't look good. The dog doesn't look good. So we get on the plane. Halfway to Denver, the dog dies on the plane.
Bill.
By the way, that's called. Hey, really quick. Sorry, I got it. That's called the Mile Low Club. Just so everyone knows. That's
It worked out great.
Is it still too soon, Mulligan, for the Mile Low Club?
The best part was when we got on the plane, the pilot saw us get on with two dogs, and thank God the pilot, because Gail was, admittedly, so she was very sad, and thank God the pilot didn't. We landed, and the pilot didn't go, did you have two dogs? So anyway, then I
just
said,
drop it in the bag on the way out, like when they were doing and
we had her wrapped in a towel, so that's when I put my foot down and I said, there's no more dogs. We still have Jake. He's great. On the way home from Denver, this is what we got. I don't know if it'll show up.
Oh, you
You got the Queen's dog? Is that a
corgi?
That's a corgi, Welsh Pembroke corgi, whose name is Dutton, after Yellowstone.
Oh my
nice.
And so what I've learned is that I can say whatever I want. It just goes off into the abyss.
Pretty much.
Any guy,
you missed a great opportunity, Bill. You were up in the air. I mean, you could have had a burial at air. I'm surprised the pilot wasn't there and the door opened.
Well, that was the thing. We drove straight to an emergency vet hospital. We called, and it was like, and then, of course, then we had to go to our granddaughters who keep saying, "Where's Lola?" And we're like, okay.
Oh no!
I'm going to tell you something. I don't care whether you're a parent, a grandparent, just a dog owner. If you're married and you're a guy, you just need to accept the fact that you have no control. You can think you do, but you have zero. And you know what? That's not a bad existence.
No,
I like playing second fiddle.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do too. And I like when choices are made for me. I like when people make decisions. I like when people order for me for food. I don't care because I like that. But so we decision making things, and we go to Benihana for over the holidays. My wife wants to take the kids to Benihana. I go, here's how it plays out. It's ridiculously expensive. The kids don't eat it. They don't even like it. It's not their jam. We leave. We spend a lot of money. I've eaten too much food. Please, for the love of God, if she wants a show, I'll blow up some stuff on the stove. Please, no Benihana. We go to Benihana over the holidays. It's not cheap. It's not cheap. It's way expensive. And then we came home.
Does zero control have?
We came. I begged her not to go. We came home. The kids were like, "We're starving." She made them mac and cheese after we got home. After a $250 Benihana. We literally pulled in. She went right to the kitchen and made macaroni and cheese for the kids. I was like, "Why? Why?" It played out exactly how I said it was going to, but I couldn't stop it. It was like a train wreck.
I just want to say,
So Travis,
Oh, yeah.
Travis was asking, what does zero control have to do with pets? And I go, here's your answer, Travis, because I had said no more dogs,
No more dogs.
and then we end up with a dog.
Yeah.
Within
I just want to
hours, by the
say,
way.
yeah. I just want to
Go ahead,
say, in my own defense as a wife, feel like I always talk to my husband with respect, and I always feel like I make decisions. Shut up! I'm doing my show. Close the door. And I feel like I feel like
You're
it's
you're very reasonable, rational.
I just feel like it's a 50-50. So I just want to say I don't agree with this with the characterization that's going around.
Benny Nana. Oh, dude. Narcolepsy's on fire. Was that narcolepsy? Benny
Yep, yes, it
Nana.
was.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had that too, Jamie, where when the kids were little, that was I think what's that name of that restaurant in LA where a lot of actors have worked there. You're a character.
Oh, it's gone, but it used to be what was the name of it? It was on La Cienega. Greg Binkley was Barney Fife. My buddy Greg Binkley played Barney Fife.
It's like we took
like Pulp Fiction. It's it was a guy's name, wasn't it?
Yeah, what was the name of that?
Who knows?
But we took when the kids were little, we took them there, and we had like the smart ass waiter.
Ed DeBevics. Peggy, that's awesome.
I was going to say Ed DeBevics was in Chicago.
Yeah. Nice, Peggy.
Ed DeBevics. No, it was on.
I loved the restaurant, but it was like the kids were just like, "Why are we here?" It was.
Yeah.
That's my New Year's resolution with Kate. I said, for the love of God, please, you and I should go out to dinner. But no, why are we taking these kids? What's funny is we'll take them to a really nice restaurant and they'll go, we'll have the mac and cheese. The mac and cheese is too delicious. There's too many cheeses. There's a crumbly top. They won't eat it. They're like, we don't want this.
It's craft or nothing. Craft or die.
Same here. Yeah.
So we just bought like a $17 mac and cheese. Nobody ate. Painful.
And then you get home and you have to order pizza for them.
You have to eat. Yeah, you feel bad because you paid for it. You're like, well, I got to eat this. We just paid for it.
That's my New Year's resolution. I'm done. I'm not eating their food anymore.
You're not paying for food anymore? Oh.
No, we're still going to pay for their food, but I throw it. And here's the problem. I grew up clean plate club. My mother was in the Depression. So if there was one morsel of banana bread left, she would wrap it and freeze it and pull it out 3 weeks later, put one little tiny piece of jam and put it into her mouth. That's how my mother ate. So I still have that mentality of like, just today I had the kid ate half a pancake. I went to throw it out and my brain started to go like, eat that. And I was like, don't just throw it out. And so I'm not eating it anymore.
Why do you think I'm so mad my kid keeps throwing up? It's very wasteful of that expensive food I bought you. How dare
Nuggets only, said your mom's comedy. They're so true. It's a rotating thing of mac and cheese, some other pasta, chicken nuggets. There's like 4 things they eat. And then I try to throw a couple vegetables.
How old are your girls now?
7 and 9.
Oh, yeah. So you're out of the dino
Second
chicken
grade
nugget
and
thing.
4th grade.
Our granddaughter has the worst eating habit. Like it's dino chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
And she wants to dip everything in mayonnaise. I'm like, oh my God.
How old is she now, Bill?
So Travis wrote something. There is a restaurant called it was big in Texas for a while called the Magic Time Machine. And this I don't know why this memory hit me, but there was a period of my life when I went to the Barbizon School of Modeling.
Well, humble brag.
Because
you had a little Marlboro Man in your early days.
Yeah, but I remember we did a fashion show at the Magic Time Machine, and there was just these dudes at the bar like heckling us as we're trying to do this runway walk with furs on. You're like, look at here. It was like,
that's funny. Oh. Are there any photos of that? I would like to see that.
Please, God, I hope not.
If you think I didn't just Google it, Kaylor, you just have never met me because I needed to see Bill Engvall Barbizon immediately.
to everybody watching, please, if you have any questions, I love the running commentary of jokes are making me laugh super hard. If you guys have any questions for Bill, please, because I know a lot of people had come in to see him, and I wanted you guys to be able to connect with him live, so it's kind of cool.
Right off.
Yeah, Joko finally showed.
That would be I did some kind of weird stuff before I got into comedy.
That's funny.
I think somewhere in this house there's I think my wife has it somewhere hidden away, but I actually had a portfolio of modeling pictures, and if there's like one of me holding onto a tree branch above my head, looking off longingly into the
Please, Gail. I'm gonna have to text Gail. Gail has got to find these. That would be cool.
If she ever, I swear, that's why I can never leave her. She's got so much ammunition on me, it would just be like.
She's like, "You want to leave? All right, buddy. Here you go.
I'll tell you what.
Go. God with you. Go, and I'm just gonna call TMZ and maybe drop off a little package anonymously.
You also can't leave because she controls you.
You even did Dancing with the Stars. That's how celeb you are.
I know.
You dropped a Dancing with the Stars.
Again, this is who's got the brains in the house. I was going to turn it down because I literally thought, is this where my career's at now? And then got to Gail said, I think you should do it. And I got seen by more people then than anything I've ever done.
Also, when the likes of Emmett Smith and like Simone Biles, I mean, it's like it's not washed up star. They are getting stars, Bill. You are a star.
Oh yeah. Well, and you know what, Kate? That was part of the fun thing of it was you got to see, like on my show, it was Snooki and Leah Remini and there was a couple other people, but you got to see them stripped away. I mean, because when you come out of there, it's it's not like you're like got makeup person waiting, and there's people out there with cameras. I mean, we showed up in sweatpants, and your hair's all 9 ways of Sunday. So it was interesting because Nicole was a great example. When I heard she was on the show, I was ready to go in to just not like. She was the sweetest, nicest girl I've ever met in my life, and it was just like, oh well, okay, all right, and it's. I highly recommend the show to anybody that if Jamie, if they were to call or Kate, I'd say you do it. It's you can't look like a bigger idiot than I did, and I got to the finals.
That's amazing.
Yeah, didn't they keep thinking you were going to get voted off, and then every week you just kept getting by?
Dude, I was like that rash that wouldn't go away. It was like, and it's so funny because if you go back and YouTube or Google the episodes, I don't even watch the dance. Just go to when they say that we're safe, and every judge has this look like, how is he still here?
Wow. Yeah.
Those are the people who win every competition. Yeah. Like, how's that guy?
Well, you know what, Jamie? I didn't have anything to lose. It was like.
Also, likability is you're just so deeply likable. And I feel like when people are voting, it's like, who do I want to keep seeing on the show? It's not who do I want to keep seeing dancing? Who do I want to see more video packages from? Who do I want to see, it's just who do I want to see more footage of their rehearsals gone wrong? Like it's,
it was funny when I was all freaked out about it. And then I finally realized that this is what it's a popularity contest. And so I started doing what I do best. And that was just perform to the audience. Yes. I'm dancing with this smoking hot 22-year-old girl. But at the end of the dance, I run over and I kiss my smoking hot, beautiful 55-year-old wife. And all of America went, see, you see there? Yeah, all right, that's my dude. Yeah.
That's funny.
But that was what was nice too, though, Kate, was Emma and I were so far apart in age that there wasn't any of that weird, because that's what they love. They love that. who's going to hook up with who. And like, you know, I think it was Derek Huff's sister was a guest judge.
Julianne, yeah.
Julianne Huff. And after we finished our dance, she goes, you know, I just love watching you two. It reminds me of the days I danced with my dad. I'm like, and see, I know she meant it as a compliment, but it was just like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like someone said, you know, you really look cute when you vomit.
Yeah.
You know.
That's funny, man.
But it was great. I mean, it was awesome. And the other claim to fame that I had that I never did was when they thought I was a masked singer.
Oh,
that was big on Twitter for a while.
Yes.
And of course, you know, people would tweet me there. Was that you? And I'd go, I can't say.
But keep watching.
Legally, I can't say. Yeah, sorry. It's just a camera.
Larry was one of them, right? Then Larry ended up being one of them, right?
Yeah. But and so, you know, I was on a completely different subject. You know, Ron retired too.
I did not.
Yeah, Ron White retired. He announced his right after mine. And you know, it's like that's you know what I could see happening if more than going back. It would be like if we decided to get the guys back together and do like 10 shows in a year.
Yes.
You know, that I could see that maybe happening as we've all gotten older, which could be a lot of fun.
They never say never, you know?
I never. Bill, and maybe it's just projecting because it looks like the most fun ever, but would you say sort of the pinnacle for you of being on the road was doing the Blue Collar Comedy Tour? Like, it just seems to me like nothing is better than that. You're with your best friends and just probably traveling well, I would guess.
Okay, I would tell you, imagine being on the road with 3 of your friends. They're throwing stupid money at you. You're selling out arenas. And there was just not, it was like, I remember one night we were playing in the Midwest somewhere, and we had all come in from different parts of the country. So everybody had chartered a plane. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, the promoter decided to get 4 limousines. So we do the show, and the general way it worked was as soon as we said goodnight, we were out the door. Our bags were already in the limo. We were heading there so we could beat the traffic out. We all piled into 4 limousines at this little airport, and each limo peeled off at a private plane. And I remember walking up the steps of my plane. I looked at Foxworthy and I said, dude, this is as close to rock and roll as we're ever going to get. And that's what we were. We were comedy rock and roll. I mean, we held the record for selling out the Nashville Arena in 24 hours. And then we finally got dethroned by Bon Jovi, which is like, what?
Not a bad way to go.
No, it was the perfect storm. I mean, we hit at the right time.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Bill, we have a question for you, brother. We have a question for you from Icesus.
What would Icesus do? Thank you.
Icesus. What would Icesus do? Bill, you the man. I hope everyone's doing good. Question for Bill. Drunkest you ever got on the road? We've all done it. I've had someone where I goes like, I got it.
Okay.
Wow, I made it back.
It would have been in Omaha, Nebraska. I was working at the Funny Bone Comedy Club. And during that time, which was a kind of a dark time for me, I was drinking a lot. And tequila was my drink of choice.
You're describing my pandemic, Bill.
Yeah. And so I was doing the show, and in the show I'd had, I don't know, probably between the whole, probably 4 or 5 shots of tequila. Well, the show ends, and this guy walks up to me and says, hey, I run this country bar over here called Guitars and Cadillacs. And he said, we're having a ladies Wrangler jeans contest. We'd like for you to be a judge. And I thought, well, I can't be rude.
Yeah.
So I go over. He goes, by the way, it's sponsored by Jose Cuervo, and I'm like, oh my god, all right. But because I'm a team player,
Yes.
I went and judged this contest while they're pouring more shots of tequila down my throat. And all of a sudden, the DJ goes, all right, we're going to clear the dance floor and have us a buffin rodeo. And I looked at the guy next to me and I said, what's a buffin rodeo? And they bring an electrical industrial floor buffer out in the middle of the dance floor. And there's the cord goes to a socket at the wall. And there's a guy there holding the cord. And you sit on this industrial floor buffer. And when you're ready, you nod to the guy at the wall and he plugs it in and you try to ride it for 8 seconds. And they said, Bill, you want to demonstrate it? And I said, you bet I'll do, yeah, hell yeah. So I get on this thing, I wrap my legs around the pole, I'm holding on to it. And they said, do you want a helmet? And I go, I don't need no damn helmet.
Oh.
And I looked at the guy and said, let's go. And they plugged it in. I rode it for like 2 seconds and got flung across the dance floor, wishing I had a helmet. I get in my chair. So and by the way, there's people who have paid an entry fee of $20 to do this because you could win cash.
To ride the buffer?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You could walk out of there with, $800 to $1,000 if you got it, and so if there was enough people that wanted to do it. And back then in the 80s, everybody wanted to do it. So I'll never forget this guy. It was one skinny old cowboy who rode it for like 7.8 seconds. His hat got flung. His hat stuck up on a sprinkler head above the dance floor. And he walked over and they go, oh, so close, 7.8 seconds. And this guy got pissed. He's like, I rode that thing for 8 seconds. I want my money. And I was just drunk enough. I said, dude, you rode a floor buffer. That's worse than John Travolta riding a mechanical bull. And so I stagger back to the hotel somehow. And the next morning I had to get up and do a radio interview. And I was so hungover. Let me back step. That night I got in and I call Gail every night. And I looked at the phone and there are 27 numbers. And I've got to figure my, 7, 8 out of them. And I finally got her. I go, hey, babe. She goes, call me tomorrow. So she could right away. And so the next morning, I told the dean, I go, dude, I am in so much hot water. I go, let's call my wife, but I want you to play Give Me One Last Chance by Vince Gill. And so I knew she couldn't yell at me on the radio. Yeah, that was that one, or the night that I was playing in El Paso and me and 2 other comedians went across the border to Mexico. Oh, and I know just enough Spanish to get my ass kicked. So we go over there and we've been drinking tequila, and
it's the place to do it.
Walk up to this bar, and one of the comedians had really long hair, and the doorman, for whatever reason, the doorman went, no, he don't come in. No, too much hair. Don't come in. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, dude, mi amigo is okay. He, I'm like, this guy's like, thank God the other comedian goes, let's just get out of here. And I was so drunk. I'm walking by a guy on the curb. There's a guy sitting on the curb selling cigarettes out of a carton. And I go, hey, how much for a pack of cigarettes? And he goes, $1. And I go, $1? Forget you. He goes, 80 cents. I go, done.
That's the border of Mexico. If you tried to have like riding the floor buffer nowadays, you'd have a lawsuit within 24 hours. Somebody would sue and go, I can't believe my son was in there, and I can't believe that you would do something so perilous and dangerous to another human being. Those are the old days, dude. The 80s were like, it was crazy. And nowadays, somebody would sue. Hey, we got another great question here. Here it is. Great. From our buddy Thomas Franklin Stovall. What is the origin of There's Your Sign?
Well, first off, it's Here's Your Sign.
I was going to say. Here's
Yeah.
your sign.
But
he's
a lot of people could do
he's
that.
saying it from a third person point of view to you. So
Okay. All
he's
right.
giving you the sign to then give out. So I get it. It's
Way to
intense.
save it, Jamie.
And
So
I want to
here's-
know, where's your sign's origin story?
Yeah.
See what I did there? Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So here's the story. So the bit used to be that I would say I thought stupid people should be slapped. It would just really cut down on the rate of stupidity if you knew you were going to get popped in the face every time you did something stupid. But my lovely bride, Gail, who's always looking out for me, one day just said, you don't look like the kind of guy that walks around slapping people. And so I was back in the club days, and you were there for 5, 6, 7 days in a row. So you had a chance to work on material. And so I came up with this idea of a sign that just said, I'm stupid. And it caught ground and took off. I mean, like took off to the point that I used to literally sell a paper sign that said, I'm stupid, with a string around it after the show. And I'd sell them for $1 a piece or 2 for $5. And you would be amazed at how many people would buy 2 for $5. And what's awesome is that every once in a while, someone would show up with a sign that they had bought at a comedy club that I was at. And, that here's your sign thing was just a gift from heaven. I mean, without that, I wouldn't be talking to y'all right now. I mean, that and blue
Do you
collar.
remember the first bit? Do you remember the first joke that led into that tag?
The first here's your sign joke was that I went home to see my dad back in Texas, and I rented a car, and I had a flat tire on the way to his house. And I pulled the car into this gas station, and the attendant walked out, looked at my car, looked at me and said, "Tire go flat?" And I looked at him and I said, "No, the other 3 just swolled right up on me." And that was the very first here's your sign joke.
Here's your sign.
Yeah.
Here's your sign.
Okay, that's awesome.
But yeah,
That's,
that was but I'll tell you a funny story about here's your sign. So when I signed with JP Williams at Parallel Entertainment, he had Foxworthy also. And I had just watched Jeff go through the stratosphere, triple platinum albums and, sold the most albums of any comedian ever. And so they came to me and they said, "We're going to record you an album." I went, "Here we go." We recorded the album. We released it. Warner Brothers released it. The first week it was out, it sold 100 copies across the country. That's less than one estate. And I was like, what the hell happened? This was my ticket to paradise. Well, then we released a song, and it went from 100 copies to like 10,000 copies a week. And the song was number 1 on the country charts for like 12 weeks in a row. And it was just, insanity. I remember getting my first residual check from the record company, and it was a number that I had never seen before. But that's the other thing that's changed in this business. Back then, it was still mom and pop radio stations. Mm-hmm. And so, like I had a station in Vegas that played Here's Your Sign 10 times a day.
Mm.
Yeah.
And, now it's all corporate. And when you got one guy that doesn't like you, that may wipe out 30 radio stations. And then the other problem you have is that, I can't tell you the last time I listened to the radio. People that listen to XM or they've got
radio
streaming.
Sirius and Spotify and stuff. But nowadays, kids have to not only make their own album, they have to put it up somewhere, and then they have to be their own publicist. Really, the people who are doing the best are the people who know how to manipulate social media more so than
that. You're right.
Actually, like we were talking about Pat Riley. He always, he has the famous quote, 10,000 hours. I think it came from Pat Riley originally. 10,000. Nowadays, if he did it today, he goes, you definitely need to get 10 hours before you can start putting stuff out into the world. Back then, you had to do a craft for 10,000 hours before you became proficient at it. Now they're like, nah, I'm good. Just rock and roll. And then once they get it up, then they know how to SEO it, and you're like, put a little money behind it, and bye-bye. Yeah, it's a different medium now,
Yeah.
man. It's hard.
It's it used to be that you had to go, like you would go to radio stations, and I remember doing a radio tour. Now you just do them on Zoom calls, and but you had to go there in person, and you'd sit in the studio, and then you'd do another one. It was like it was tough going.
I'm going to answer this question for you. Your mom's comedy show wants to know, how did you keep motivated? But I know that you had a wife and 2 kids at home. And I never had that motivation because I didn't get married and have kids until late in life. And I always be like, why are you working so hard? Because I was in a rent-controlled apartment with a bank full of money, and I never cared until I had kids. And I was like, oh, all right, we need to make some money. So was there another motivation besides children that was going for you?
Well, yeah. I mean, family is what you want to take care of them first. But I got to be honest with you. When I started in this business, all I wanted to be was a really good comedian. I didn't go into it thinking I'm going to get TV out of this. It was like, if that comes, great. But I want to be known in the annals of comedy that I achieved that. That I always wanted to make sure I gave the audience the best show I could, and that's what motivated me was to be more than what you set out to be. And it's like, don't settle. And I pride myself in the fact that I never settled. There was times that I didn't know if it was going to work out, but yeah, the motivation was for me was to be the best comedian I could be, and hopefully that when my time on this planet's up, that they'll remember me as saying, yeah, he was a good comedian.
Well, it's funny because you remember everyone who started comedy, the crazy ones were the ones who, like, because everyone bombs out of the chute. We were all the crazy ones who were like, I'm getting back up tomorrow because I can do this.
Yeah.
And then the goal was wash to murder. Like it went, like even after that, it went well, but you were like, that one joke. And then it was just have the perfect side. It's like the golfer.
That's the thing,
round.
It's almost like I always said that you never learn anything from a good show. You learn your stuff from a show that didn't go the way you wanted, and whether it was you or the audience, but it's you had to keep going. And that was one of the things about Blue Collar that was really good. Was every night you had to bring your A game. You could not mail it in, or you were going to get buried.
You had to. You had an off night. You'd get murdered. Yeah, everyone's killers. I think a row of killers, man.
That's the thing about comedy that I love, though, too, is that I can remember playing the comedy workshop in Houston, and I had to follow Bill Hicks and Sam Kinison in one night. And you want to talk about pucker factor, because they knew the room, they knew the audience. I had just driven down for the night for 15 minutes.
And they made you go last?
No, I didn't have no. But it was like that. It was like the Comedy Store. They just had a list of, but they also had guys like Jimmy Huggins. There was a comedy team. It was like Denver. It was like, I don't know if you guys ever got the chance to play Denver, the Comedy Works.
I played there
when
super fun. Denver was awesome.
Great room.
I did get winded because I'm always envious because I see you're just pure joke teller and a storyteller. I'm like acting things out, and I remember in Denver I was like maybe halfway through my act, and I was doing some big bit, and then I was like, and I couldn't catch my breath. I was like, I can't. I'm gonna have to take a second here. I can't. I'm not gonna make it in Denver.
Wait till you hear this punchline.
Denver was another one of those. Denver was like in Boston. They had this lineup of comics that was just killers. Yeah. And I'll tell you my favorite Denver story. I was Roseanne, at the time she was called Roseanne Barr. Roseanne and I were playing a club in Grand Junction, Colorado, and at a Holiday Inn or Ramada. It was something like that. And she goes, Bill, we were sitting, I'll never forget this. It was a nice afternoon. We were sitting out by the pool. And she goes, Bill, I'm thinking about going out to Los Angeles. And I go, oh, Rosie, I go, be careful. I go, they'll just chew you up and spit you out. She became queen of Hollywood. Another great advice from Uncle Billy there. No, just stay in your little hometown in Denver. You'll be fine.
Yeah, that's funny. Hey, I have a question for you from one of your fans. Peggy Gubbins asks, hey, Bill, if you went back to the 80s, what piece of current technology would your past self tell your current self, get the blank out of here? No way.
Cell phones.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw a cell phone coming, but I didn't see it in this form.
No.
No. I meant like, let me rephrase it, smartphones.
Yeah.
I still have the first cell phone I ever had. It was attached to a big box, and but Peggy, the reason I say that is because I have a great. I'm hooked on them, but I have such a disdain for these things. I think they've changed the way we act as humans, and I think if you'd have told me back in the 80s that people could ask you a question and you could, I guess you would put this under the whole internet thing of people could ask you a question and you just go, oh yeah, it's so-and-so, that I heard an interesting fact the other day, and this one blew my mind. They said that we have more technology in a cell phone than they had when they put the first man on the moon. That's a mind blower.
My jokes. Yeah. It's yeah.
That's a
more technology. Not even this one. The one like the very first iPhone had more technology than the guys on the Apollo. Yeah.
And it's also, I'm probably going to get the stat wrong, but it's like these decade, like the technological growth has been exponential each decade since, I forget which, but like basically the 10 years from 1970 to 1980, there was not as many changes as like from 1990 to 2000 as there is from 2000 to 2000. I mean, it's just like, it's exponential growth too, where.
All right. So let me ask you guys a question. And Jason, I'd be interested to hear what you say. What do you think is going to be in our lifetime the next big technological thing that we're going to go, wow?
I think artificial intelligence is going to be the biggest thing, because right now they're doing programs where they're taking information, phone calls, past messages and stuff, and recreating people's personalities, getting voice snippets, so that like even when you lose somebody, there'll be a computerized copy of them. So even when you lose somebody, that person will still in some form still be there. I think that's going to be
Jason,
a big thing.
Tell Bill what you're doing.
And why you're actually answering this.
Yeah, why I'm answering this is I'm actually doing it because you and I've never talked about this, but 6 days after my wife gave birth to our twin sons, she had a stroke at 28 years old.
Oh.
She had a hole in her heart. We didn't know it was there. And she gave birth to the children naturally, and a clot formed and it got through the hole. And so I was told at the time she was going to live at most 2 yeas. And we're now 4 years in. She's doing much better. Then 3 to 4 months later, I had a internal medical scare and I almost died. And so I kind of started to look for another way to, like, I didn't want my kids to go without our influence. And I found this, there were a lot of companies out there that are doing this, but I'm actually working with a company and they're building an AI version of my wife and I, so that if something were to happen, our kids will still have some version of us that they can talk to.
Yeah.
Dude, how much money are you making to be on this show?
I can't talk about it.
You clone that person and then you put the AI into
I'm doing this
clone.
for a watered down scotch and you've got an AI thing. That's crazy, Jason.
Well, here's my concern is that I know the only reason I have not tried to take over the world is I was limited by the Barney Rubble body. Once the robot me figures out that he has no limitations, we're in a lot of trouble.
Wow.
Yeah, AI. I mean, also, I
do think AI is the right answer. I do think that's a big jump.
And the avatar also is, I mean, Meta what's his name is crazy, but he's also right. Eventually, all these people who are watching this show, we're all going to be in a virtual club, and we actually have there's a virtual parents lounge in the metaverse where our shows run, and you can put the Oculus on. We can all be avatars. I almost threw up. I went into the metaverse with Jason, and I kept I go, let's see what it's like to jump off. And when I jumped off, I was like, oh, and I got super woozy.
It is one of my favorite memories. Jamie's avatar looks just like him, literally just walked off a cliff and died. And this little kid who sounded like Short Round from Indiana Jones said to me, I think your friend just killed himself. And I was like, honestly,
Totally
we've been waiting for that for a little while. That was
Wait, you did all
I
this with just those. You did all that with just those dumb glasses on?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's
I
crazy.
spent a long time. I built a virtual reality club. So it's like you go into a nightclub and there's an IMAX sized screen. And actually, old shows you've done with us, Bill, are in there, and you can sit in an audience with other people and watch our show as if you're in a club.
Can you interact with them?
Yes, absolutely. You can talk to them and everything.
Yep. Yeah.
The plan is to, at some point, we're going to do a live show in there.
Mm-hmm. Other huge artists are doing it. Travis Scott did one and in one show, he made $10 million or $20 million. One virtual show in the metaverse, and everyone is on an Oculus around because the thing is, dude, if you go to Columbus, Ohio, how many people live there who can come to the show? There are 8 billion people on Earth. So if every single one of them could theoretically come into your show, I mean, dude made like 20 million. Is Jason's clone also getting his own? No, the leather hat cannot be replicated.
This is just, I am, oh my God, I'm my dad when VCRs came out. This is like,
I know.
This is just a whole nother world that I'm just like, wait. Now, let me ask you though, because I also read that somewhere they said that you can only go so long because your brain cannot comprehend all the information that's being thrown at it.
I will say that may be true. I got the Oculus when they were telling me about this, and I got it, and there's an app that I ended up buying called Wander, which you can put any address in the whole world and go there. So I ended up going. I was like, well, I've never been to Australia. I want to go see the Sydney Opera House, and so I put in Sydney Opera House. And I'm standing there, and I am immediately in front of the Sydney Opera House. And they've sort of, I don't know how to explain what happens with the ears. You don't have anything plugged into the ears. So like I could still hear my husband like in the kitchen, but somehow it was like, I don't know. And I went, like I was truly like, I felt like I was in front of the Sydney Opera House. And there was when I finally took them off after exploring all of these places, there was like a melancholy that came over me.
It's weird,
where
right?
I felt like really bummed out to be back in my house. And so I was like, this is not
not good.
It's not good. It's not good. Yeah.
There's going to be an issue.
We're the first people who are but generations will adapt. And that will be, you saw Ready Player One, that's coming. I think there's no two ways about it, man.
There are already people who are in there every day, most of the day, to escape their life, for sure, without question.
You would eventually learn. It's the Matrix.
But
is
how
coming.
do they get money? How do they make money? Those people that are in there. Every day?
If all you have to do right now, Kate, and I've seen a guy.
Actually, speak low. I'm going to take notes. What do I have to do?
A guy I know is literally designing virtual furniture that you can buy in a virtual storefront. He sells you a copy of this virtual furniture or a t-shirt or, whatever it is, this object, an avatar add-on. And he told me right around between $10,000 and $15,000 a week.
You buy real estate. You buy real estate in there, and then you put your store or whatever there. Yeah, it's like it's a virtual world, man. It's crazy.
Well,
so let me ask you this: when do we lose being humans?
Oh, it was 1994. Did you not get the memo? It was on CNN, I believe.
It was the OJ trial.
At what point do we lose our social skills and
yes, it's already.
Absolutely.
How to react to each other? in a real world.
It's
Well, you
I
see
think it's
kids
already
all sitting
happening.
next to each other texting. They text. They don't even want to talk to each other. Nobody has verbal skills. Nobody can
Right,
talk to
I
each
get-
other.
There are the yard supervisors at my son's school. They're the kind ladies that, you know, they make minimum wage to sort of be supervising. They are always like, your children are, oh yeah, I know that's true.
So
Thomas
that's
Franklin's several
basically
minutes.
that's the premise of
yeah.
Avatar.
It's a
That
great
is
school.
Avatar because the dude has no legs. He's
Yeah.
paralyzed and he takes his brother's spot to get into Avatar. And he's like, oh my God, I can run again. So absolutely. Yeah. I
Yeah.
totally agree with that. I'm sorry. Kate,
But
to
my
interrupt you.
thing
Go
would
ahead.
No, I
go
was
to
just gonna say-
Kate then again is like once he takes the glasses off, does the
Mhm.
depression of reality sink back in?
Oh, I got to
And-
imagine because you can actually, if you are somebody who does not physically move through the world, normally, or not normally, it's a horrible way of saying it, but if you are in any way inhibited movement wise, when you've got the paddles in your hands, assuming that you can control the paddles, you feel like you're walking. So
That's what I was going to ask. How did you just do like this?
you just actually there's like a little button on it that you can sort of, like when I'm in Wander.
But see,
I
then
just,
now
like,
they're also
like a
coming out
cursor.
with those. They're basically a treadmill that you strap yourself into, and you can also stay and walk within those spaces. So you're
That's
actually
Ready Player One. He's on that, and wherever the treadmill goes, he can go either way. Yeah, it's a whole. That's I mean,
Wow.
Ready Player One is the exact thing that's
And the
coming, it
next
feels like.
the next development is the gloves that is going to allow you to feel stuff as well. So
I already feel. I mean, I also, the big nerd that I am, I also play this game Vader Immortal. And if you think when Darth Vader appeared in front of me for the first time ever, I did not weep, you would be wrong. But part of what he does in the game is he hands you a box that you're supposed to open. He's like, I heard you're the one, and you just never imagine how big Darth Vader is. He's a giant. And
Where
so,
do you play this, Kate?
what'd you say?
Where do you play this?
In the Oculus. It's this game called Vader Immortal. And so it's just, you buy the game or whatever. But part of what you do is like you're with a droid and you have to escape certain rooms or whatever. But when he hands you for whatever reason, because the Oculus gives you like the paddles turn into hands and like these leather gloves, I'm like doing the thing and I feel like I'm holding this box.
I play a Jurassic Park games that's the same kind of thing.
No.
You feel like you're in experiencing that movie, like you're there.
No,
what does this cost? I mean, what do these things cost?
The headsets are like 300 to 400 maybe.
Yeah.
And then the
And how
games
long-
are, the
Minimum.
games are like $9.99, $29. It's really it's sort of like DVD players were, right? DVD players were so expensive at first, and then it got mass produced, and now they're the cheap.
Big screen TVs. I remember buying
Yeah,
a
I
big screen
feel like-
TV for like
Well,
$4,000
so
or
like
something.
I've seen that commercial where the guy says, "I want to be quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys." I mean, are you like in the game?
Oh yeah,
You're
you're
you can
there.
do whatever you want.
Except you can't get tackled.
Bill, it's the
Obviously you
Matrix.
can't get tackled.
Yeah,
I mean, they're
Uh,
coming up with vests and stuff that you're
Yeah.
gonna feel pressure and stuff like. I mean, all
Yep.
that stuff within the next 10 years is going to be a reality.
the
Let's
other
face it,
thing
it's-
that's sorry.
It goes wherever porn goes, right? Like porn
Oh, yeah.
always drives technology. So eventually some dude's going to invent a suit that goes with the Oculus where some guy's going to go, yeah, that's the suit.
They've
my
already got
brother.
the
That's
gloves in
suit."
5 years. You're going to be
Yeah.
able to.
I don't need one glove, Jason. I don't need two gloves. Just the one.
Kaylor, if you had the opposite answer and you're like, no, I would definitely need both gloves, we would all be like, huh.
I'm not saying
That's
it's
called a
not doable.
threesome. That's
not
called a
saying
threesome, by the way. That's called a threesome. So we're on the same page.
Wow, I've learned a lot here tonight.
Yeah.
Like Demolition Man. Oh, I can't wait for these guys to be on the show. I'm so excited. And she said her home club's Omaha, which is Larry's up there, and Nick Hoff's there a bunch too. Our other past on the show. Oh, I can't wait to talk to those guys. That's going to be super fun. Next week, your mom's comedy show is here. Bill, by the way, before we do go, we got to cut you. We're only going to do an hour, but we have so many people watching and asking questions, and it was so much fun. So I know you're doing Facebook Lives. Are you doing your Facebook Lives on like Sunday mornings?
I do a little thing on Sunday mornings called Sunday Mornings with Bill, And it's just a little 10-minute inspirational thing. It's not heavy duty religion or anything. It's just kind of to give people something to get through the week. And it's just been very successful. And I'm having a lot of fun doing it. I never saw it coming, but I don't know where it's going to go. But, I get 2,000 to 4,000 people Sunday tuning in. So
I've tuned in, and I got to tell you, I love the positivity, and it's very inspirational. And I think that we talked about this earlier, that negative things accumulate more, traffic or whatever. But I think positive's coming back, and I love seeing your stuff.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
For anybody that's out there that's been ragged on, there's a great little book called The Four Agreements. And I wish I could remember the name of the author, but it's a 2-day read. And one of the things I took away from this book, it's a guy that goes back and studies the Aztec way they dealt with life. And one of the things, and it's a very kind of a spiritual journey book. But one of the things I took away from it, and I tell people this all the time, when somebody says something mean to you or bad to you, it has nothing to do with you. It's them dealing with their own issues. And I think if we could all remember that, it would be a lot easier. And I agree, Jamie. I think that we joke about the bad shows and the bad motels and stuff, but I look at this kid from the Buffalo Bills who wanted to raise $2,500 for his foundation to help some kids. And he's over, I think, $8 million now that people have donated on this GoFundMe page. And that shows me that there are still a lot of really good people out there. Unfortunately, Don Miguel Ruiz. Yeah, that's what Travis said. It's a good read. It just shows me that unfortunately we want to live in the negative world, and it gets more press. But I think you're right. If we can just keep the faith, keep moving forward, take one step at a time, all these little cliche things, but they all mean something, that good can triumph out of all this at some point. It's got to, otherwise we're dead.
Yeah, okay. I totally agree.
We can't survive.
I think good is making a comeback. So, hey,
I'm with you.
Bill, what a great way to start the year off, man. Thank you so much for coming to do
that.
So
Best
many
case scenario.
Fans came in. Great questions. The fans were hilarious tonight. Catch Bill on his Facebook Live. I'd pump some live gigs, but you don't have any, my brother. So
don't have any.
Enjoy your retirement.
Please come back. Bill at his home, which the address is. Go ahead, Bill. Give us your address. Where can we find you?
Your Mom's Comedy Show. These guys commenting right here are coming next week, I believe, right, Jason? They're on the calendar for next week. We have some great guests. Chris Hardwick's coming in. Steve Trevino is supposed to be here. We got a bunch of people who all of a sudden everyone's kind of pandemic'd out and we're getting back.
Jose Cuervo is going to be here. Jose Cuervo's coming.
Cuervo's going to be here. So let's let Bill go.
Well,
Bill, thank you so much for coming.
Thank
we love
you,
you, buddy.
Bye, buddy.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
That
what
was
a
one
rock
of my favorite
star.
shows ever. That was one of my favorite shows of all time. Yeah, that was super fun. And honestly, I feel like it wasn't just Bill. I feel like everybody, the fans brought it tonight. You guys were hilarious. Holy cow. And great questions. Like it was like a real show. Did you feel that, guys?
Well, we said we were going to go a little bigger this year.
We did. We went big or went home. So all right, listen, it's been 90 minutes. I still got to get my kids to school in the morning. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. Seriously. Thank you to people who share the show. If you have a parent who needs a laugh, some inspiration, please share our show. Like, subscribe. Please write a review if you're listening to this on iTunes. Jason?
If you want and you're on Facebook, hit us up with some of the stars. Click the stars because that helps support the show.
That's right. We do stars now, too. And next week, we have a fantastic show, too. We're killing them. Your Mom's Comedy Show is going to be here.
Also, if you guys have virtual reality headsets and enough of you have them, would you guys be interested in doing a live Parents Lounge with Kate and Jamie and I in VR sometime soon?
What if they're just like, nah, got it, don't want it.
I don't want it.
I would even have to. I would have to go back into the. I'll even go back into the metaverse to do the show.
You know what, Kaylor? I think you and I need to take Dramamine before we do it.
I
not
would
kidding.
agree with that.
I never got airsick or seasick. I just kept jumping off the cliff and it freaked me out. But I'm going to go back.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back. So, all right, listen, thank you guys for tuning in. Can't wait for next week's show. We love you all. Reach out, feedback. We love to hear it. And listen.
New iTunes
Have a
every
great
Tuesday
week,
or every
everybody.
Thursday and Monday.
Yep. All right, that's
Good night,
it.
everybody.
We'll see you guys next week here in the Parents Lounge.
Good night, everybody. Good night, James.